Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Radix recap space. I'm Adam Simmons, and with me is Radix founder Dan Hughes. 20th of June. Pleasure to have you all here. How you doing?
Howdy,
How you
everyone.
How you doing, Dan?
I am very quickly succumbing to this conference disease I was telling you about earlier on.
Yeah, you never won the conference. Always hits you for some reason. About a week after.
Yeah, yeah, about a week after, exactly. So I've got a bit of a sore throat and a sniffly nose. But the thing I'm most annoyed about is having a sore throat and a sniffly nose in this heat.
Yeah, for
Not fun.
anyone not in the UK, it is absolutely roasting. We're having a heat wave. And there is now, in the joy of the social media era, there is a bunch of Americans living in the UK confirming that we're not making it up. UK heat, it's different.
Yeah, they thought we were full of crap for all these years, and now it's like, no, England is awful in the summer.
And the thing is, it's because our houses are made of brick and designed to bring heat in and keep it in. So even overnight, you just have the house literally acting as a giant radiator.
Yeah, it's awful,
Yeah.
horrible.
Well, enough about the weather. Sorry to hear about your flu. Brian Johnson, I'm sure, would
I'll be fine.
have comments around the impact of international travel plus lack of sleep plus everything else. But with you, Dan, I think you'd have a few more points of things you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
Let's not get into that.
the good news is we don't just have people joining us on X today. Well, live only people on X, but through popular demand, we now also have this recording. So, assuming it all goes well, this will be up on YouTube and Spotify afterwards.
Oh, great. Cool. Branching out.
We have the technology.
We do. Have you
So,
had a crash course from machinist? Because he does this kind of stuff.
yeah, so Machinist gave me some tips, and I also dug out from many, many moons ago when I did live streaming and stuff, all of my old kit and software to do so. The pain is really just getting audio only, which is why we're also doing YouTube, because a lovely picture of your face and my face on a
Ah,
subtly animated
brilliant.
background.
Excellent. Is it the proper faces or is it as both with wigs on or something?
Well, mine is definitely my face. If it was a wig, the hairline would be better. Yours, I'm not sure.
Oh, I better check it out after.
So let's crack on because we've also had people say that if we get through it quicker, shorter spaces are preferable. So let's dive right
Okay.
in. We've had a busy two
Okay.
weeks since our last space, with some big news coming out. So why
Yes.
don't we start with the incentives campaign?
Sure. Okay.
So
Uh,
incentives, we have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. We've got some community devs helping out as well, which is awesome. It's one of the things we wanted to do with the foundation after the restructure is get more community devs involved because obviously all of the fantastic builders in the ecosystem are as familiar with what happens on chain as anyone internally is. So always a big bonus to get them in. And we're gunning well. So we'll have some demos or internal demos coming out probably in the next week. So I know Stella's been working on some of those, and they're going to be having a quick look at basically a full end to end. So we've now implemented all of the LP on DEXs, LP on root and weft for USDC, and calculating that for the weekly snapshots into the activity points for the week and the conversion to the C points with XRD multiplier. So looking all good on development timelines there.
yeah, it's going really well. Apologies for the pause there, and I had to go and have a cough and nearly die.
Please don't die.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'll try my best. Progress is going great. So very excited to see those demos and stuff as well, and have a play around and get people's opinions and things. But it's moving really well.
Everyone,
So big
everyone
win.
is everyone is massively cooking internally as well. It's so most people internally are working on the incentives campaign. There's a lot of stuff from like gateway, from transaction manifests
Mm.
through to obviously on the back end side, all the databases and all of the to calculate points. But all looking really, really good around obviously the headline goals of using these incentives to get a lot more real users on, more capital into the network, more TPL, and what we're kind of calling real economic activity on Ledger because so many fantastic dApps within the ecosystem. that just need more capital and more usage. And that is what we are really trying to incentivize through rewards to trading, to liquidity provision, lending and borrowing, and of course, buying and holding XRD.
Yep, it's really cool. I had some enjoyable meetings this morning around databases. Thoroughly enjoyed those.
Yeah, we
Love getting deep in the weeds.
we tagged Dan in because one of the things with all the snapshots that happen throughout the week to calculate points, we realized that some of the tables that we were using were getting into like billions of rows, and we're like, this may not be an optimal database structure. So luckily, we have a database expert, or any kind of ledger expert in you, Dan.
Alleged.
I think it's proven, but we'll come to that more with proof of talk because you had an amazing panel there.
Yes, true. But
But
yeah, it's really cool. It's great to see the incentive stuff coming along. Very bullish.
And speaking of very bullish, the other big, or one of the other big things, of course, is hyperscale. So do you want to talk a little bit about where we are there and your plans with that?
Yeah, that's it. So Hyperscale's taken a little bit of a back burner over the past few weeks, of course, because I've been traveling around quite a lot. But we did have a really good test before I went on my travels to Jersey to see you guys, and then to Paris, and I went somewhere else as well. Where did I go before? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So back in the seat with that now. Had quite a lot of admin stuff to do this week and just restructure things. So dealt with all of that. Looking to get back into full-time hyperscale next week. But me and Adam did have a nice conversation this morning with one of the third parties to arrange lining them up and stuff, which is very good. So things are moving behind the scenes there now as well. Just very eager to get rid of this kind of day-to-day backlog I've got at the moment this week since coming back, and jump back into actual code, which is where my heart lies.
And how all the behind the scenes stuff? I know you probably can't say much, but any updates for Radix community on that?
What you mean, like the third parties?
Or just in general, or all of the behind the scenes work that's been taking you off of hyperscale or keeping hyperscale off top. That looking light to end of tunnel now?
Oh yeah, very much. Yeah. It's basically done at this point, so shouldn't have as much of a distraction. So that side of things over the past few months now has been reducing gradually. And then over the past week or so, kind of wrapped up most of the remaining stuff. So shouldn't be too distracted with all of that anymore, which would be great. So a lot more bandwidth. It's so frustrating when you're like motivated to do like constructive things. Let's say it's like being in meetings all day never feels productive to me, even though some meetings are obviously. But when you're just back to back all the time, it just and the end of the day comes and it's like, what have I done today? Nothing. I've just talked all day, and yeah, it's nice to be able to get back into productive stuff. So I'll have a lot more bandwidth for that, and move things forward. So very excited to get back to normal, Dan's normal, which is stuck in a coding cave, actually doing productive things.
A coding oven, I think it is technically at the moment.
Oh yeah, well it is right now. I'm sitting here with just shorts on. I'm afraid, everybody.
Well, that's already got everyone interested now. The mental image is being formed.
Well, thankfully it's not a podcast. Otherwise, I would have to wear a t-shirt and I would be absolutely sweaty.
So, speaking of talking lots, going slightly out of the order of the beautiful prep doc we get given. You have been talking a lot at Proof of Talk. How was Paris?
Oh, it was great, actually. Yeah, like that's my first proper conference for a while. Almost a year, I think. So yeah, it was really cool. It was like in the Louvre. It was just a beautiful location as well. Like so much to see in there and all the detail and stuff. So probably one of the better locations I've been for a crypto conference. And then the weather was nice, so that helped. And then the conference itself, very packed, very busy, lots going on. The speaker tracks were great. Lots of networking, as most of you probably saw some pictures of the more interesting ones went up on the socials. There was a lot more behind the scenes as well, VCs and other projects and tech startups and stuff, and just spreading that Radix word um, as far as we could. My panel was great as well, but it was a nightmare. So the people that were on that panel were very high caliber, right? And trying to line up like a prep call between us all was just impossible. So it was a case of sit in a dark corner and at the conference, like 30 minutes before the panel, crack out a bunch of questions, send it around. This is what we're going to talk about. If you don't like it, it's tough. And then just run the panel. But I think it went okay. Got good feedback on it, and it made a nice change to be a moderator rather than a panelist. But I would definitely rather be the panelist than the moderator.
You
It's completely different.
you had an amazing panel as well, though. Like, you're up there with the CEO of the SWE Foundation,
Yeah,
with
Christian.
Merck
Yeah,
from obviously co-founder and CEO of Helium, and who
yeah.
was the other person? It was
Martin from Zircuit, kind of like a institutional layer two. Spent quite a bit of time with him after in the evening as well. We went to an investor dinner, and we bumped into each other there. So we sat on the same table and spoke to a bunch of investors, and then yeah, I think dare I say we became friends. So yeah, very interesting guy as well. But yeah, the panel lineup was pretty heavy.
and it was a bit of a different conference to, or different to many of the kind of bigger crypto events. It was much more kind of like networking focused rather than big booths and big conference halls.
Yeah, there wasn't any like big conference halls or flamboyant booths or anything. Um, but it felt a lot more intimate as well. Like usually, when you're at a conference, you get talking to somebody and then you never see them again throughout the entirety of the conference, right? But here, just regularly bumping into people that I had conversations with earlier or like the next day, you have a quick catch up or a coffee and stuff. Um, so it was a lot more. It was a lot tighter conference. Which I don't know. I just preferred it. I preferred it, to be honest. It was just better for networking.
And at least what I'm seeing is that a lot of the crypto conferences seem to be jumping on that trend now of big booths and stuff are kind of falling out of fashion, with the exception of like Token 2049, with a lot more focus on these high caliber attendees in a more intimate setting to be able to chat.
Yeah, I think there's two demographics, right? If the conference is targeting more retail, then you probably want all the flamboyancy. Um, but if the conference is more institutional or investor or more serious, then you probably want to earn more towards the more intimate. Very much like DAF that I went to in February. That was again very small space, no flamboyant boobs or anything. Um, just more serious, more grown up, dare I say.
Although I'm not sure you can say that it's not flamboyant when it's in the loop.
Oh wow, yeah, touche.
I think that is, as venues go, that may be up there as the nicest venue of any conference that I have heard of. Not just in crypto, but
Yeah,
like any I've heard of or been involved in. Louvre is up there.
yeah. There was a little chill out room for the VIPs at the back, and you weren't allowed to take drinks in there. And the reason being was because it was full of like antiques and stuff. And I guarantee that multiple like vases and stuff in there were worth more than the entire market cap of various cryptocurrencies. So it's like, don't touch anything in here. Just sit and be still.
So no diamond encrusted chairs you decided to sit on.
No, hell no. Stayed away from those.
Did you see that video going around of some tourist at some gallery? There was a beautiful diamond encrusted chair, and there was no one else in the room, and he
Right.
decided to try and sit in it and just literally crushed it.
Oh my god.
Probably made it
No,
go
I haven't
up in
seen that.
value though.
Please send that. I love that kind of stuff.
It's one of those things where the way art works, that now is probably worth 10 times more money than it
It's
was
probably
before.
worth more. Yeah, yeah, you done them a favor.
It was like the Banksy one that got shredded at auction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was genius, actually.
So out of all of them, I mean, like my favorite picture that came out of the event was with one of the senior people at Multiverse X, and it was like,
Oh, Lucian.
yeah, you and Lucian in that picture just looks like full on mind meld.
Yeah, it's a great picture. That is. Yeah, I kept bumping into Lucian all the time I was there as well. So we had a couple of follow up, like, "Hey, how you doing?" kind of interactions. It's really cool. I like him a lot, and I'm going to try and persuade him to do a podcast with me, but we'll see.
He can be a guest here. We can just
He could be a guest here, even. Yes, yeah.
no.
I think that would be a great space. Both sharding, both very technical, and he was interested in what we were doing. Likewise, I'm interested in what they're doing. So I am going to try and line that up at some point when our schedules allow.
Other big news, of course, is that we had the Hyperlane integration announcement. So amazingly, we haven't spoken on this space since then, Dan, which is testament
Have
to
we
like this.
not?
No, the speed things are moving at is crazy. Like I cannot overstate how quickly that deal went from introduction to being signed, work started.
Yeah, that was rapid, and thank God, finally we got a damn bridge. Oh, I mean, it's been like impossible, mission impossible. We should have got Tom Cruise involved.
And it's a
But we
great
have
bridge.
one. It is a good bridge, yeah, and they're doing really well and they're growing well and stuff. And some really interesting technical features that we can leverage later on around NFTs and various other things. And they're doing us a solid as well, just kind of fast tracking it through for us, which is amazing. Um, and yeah, it just opens up so much potential for us finally.
Well, it gets Radix connected with a fully permissionless, fully open source Intburn bridge. They're already connected with like over 100 different chains. They've done
Yeah,
$7 billion of volume. Really, it just makes such a difference, especially with the incentives campaign coming up as a way to easily bring assets into the Radix ecosystem and tap into some of the amazing use that are available here.
yeah, we're just not an island in the middle of the ocean anymore once that goes live. InstaBridge is okay, and it serves a purpose. But a properly permissionless bridge is always been critical. And now we have one, so that's a massive win. Like amazing.
And there'll be more news coming about that as well. We wanted to get the news out to the Radix community and obviously the blog post you did, Dan, a couple of weeks ago. But that's going to be a proper announcement. We're working with their marketing team at the moment, like joint press and
Yeah,
everything around that. They are very excited to be working on Radix. We've got their kind of core non-EVM integration team dedicated to doing the Radix integration over the next 8 weeks. So really high caliber team working on it. It's in kind of priority fast mode. And so, yeah, really good. And even things like the audit, that's already lined up. So we've got an audit partner who's done both Hyperlane and also Radix. And probably narrow it down from that. But they're good to go. They've got the time locked in. They're very confident with it as well because obviously they've done all the Hyperlane audit, they've done all the Radix audit. So the bit that needs auditing before it can go onto mainnet is literally just the Radix connection into the Hyperlane infrastructure. So hoping that'll
yeah,
be done
it should be pretty quick.
promptly.
Should be pretty quick.
And that doesn't mean there's not things going on now, though. I know
Oh,
many
there's always something going on at the moment.
eagle-eyed people have seen that the other kind of bit of news that you snuck into your update was that we've secured a couple of 100,000 of new capital to get deployed in the Radix ecosystem.
Yes, I believe that went in today, or some of it has.
Yeah, about $475,000 worth of USDC got put in. So, and some BTC. So that's gone into a couple of dexes, into the lending market. So now borrow rates for borrowing USDC, especially on Root and Weft, are currently much more manageable. So there's already some people like Tell the Best has already pointed out some great opportunities to do and farming that you can do with that now. So
Oh
this
yeah,
is
3%.
yeah. Yeah, so suddenly there's
Yeah,
some
that
cool
was up at like 60 something a couple of weeks back.
yeah. So this is just how quickly that when there are capital or when more capital is deployed in the ecosystem, it just instantly creates so many more opportunities for users in the ecosystem, for the dApps in the ecosystem, for more advanced DeFi strategies, using kind of borrowing from one of the money market, utilizing that on dexes, arbitrage opportunities, looping opportunities, even using some of the automated things like Atos Earn and Lattice 3. That just unlocks a lot of stuff for them too.
Mm. Yeah, it's cool. So it's gone into Weft, Root, and the Dexes, right?
Correct.
And Surge, I believe.
I think they are looking at Surge, but I don't think
Okay.
that's gone in yet.
Okay, cool. But yeah, massive. It's like USD is just the oil for ecosystems, right? So without that, everything's just full of friction and expensive and stuff. So really good to see that actually went over the line and was deployed. Of course, we want more. We always want more, but it's a good start.
And then the final bit of news from kind of foundation side is we had the Redstone integration go live. So another kind of tier 1 Oracle now available to builders on Radix.
Yeah, that kind of got overlooked, I think, over the past couple of weeks, right? With so much going on, because there was an announcement, but then I don't think there was much chit chatter afterwards. Or maybe it's just not exciting enough for our ecosystem. But I think it's very important, especially as we grow with all this stuff going on over the next 6-12 months. A strong Oracle is going to be really important. So it's just maybe it's not exciting right now, but it's a very critical piece of the foundation. I wanted to pick a different word than the foundation, seeing as we're talking about foundation stuff. But
We need to get Theosaurus out before every X space.
I'm dying slowly in front of everybody here, so please forgive me.
For those of you who don't know, so Redstone is an oracle, which basically means they push data onto chain that then dApps can utilize that as a trusted source. So they've got about 1,200 price feeds for a whole bunch of different assets that they are now able to, or dApps on Radix are able to now pull from. They also have a really interesting model. So most on-chain oracles use what's called a push model. And so a push model basically is where they update that information on chain constantly. Now, that is relatively expensive to utilize because you're constantly updating that information, regardless of whether it's needed. And one of the cool things about Redstone's technology is that they have a pull model, which basically means that if you're a dApp, a developer utilizing one of their feeds, you basically can pull information as needed. So you go in and be like, I know, say you need the price of USD, or not bad example, price of BTC, for example. You go in and go, I need the price of BTC now. It then updates that as you need it, rather than updating it constantly, even if you don't need it. So that makes it very, very kind of cost efficient, compute efficient for both the Redstone infrastructure and also for any dApp utilizing their data feed. And they're huge. So DeFi applications that are utilizing Redstone across all chains, they're currently got a TVL of about 6.6 billion that utilizes Redstone oracles to be able to function. So even if it's something that you're like, hey, how does this work? What's it used for? This is the sort of thing which unlocks a lot of additional dApp complexity and more complex financial opportunities for dApps and obviously for their users that is now live on the Radix mainnet.
Yeah, it's a massive win. I love it. It's great. So many opportunities. So many opportunities just happening quickly and all going to be there very soon. It's exciting.
Any other foundation updates, Dan?
I don't think there is, right? I mean, we've been pretty busy for a couple of weeks. That's probably plenty.
Yeah, for 2 weeks, four big ticket items, I think is good going.
Yeah, I think so as well. What is it that the Machini says? We did good, right? Is that right? He's gonna kill me. Nicking his taglines now.
Hopefully, we get the same response from Machinist at his space later today as well. That we did good.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose down to the real point is I've got quite a lot of follow-ups post proof of talk as well. And we didn't actually get to use all of our one-to-one meeting stuff. So there's a few of those going to happen retrospectively with, I'm not going to say who they are because it's too early to say, but there's still quite a bit of post proof of talk stuff that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks as well. And if anything interesting comes out of those, then you will hear it here first.
It's not just us doing exciting things. Community has also been, or ecosystem and community have also been doing some awesome stuff. So
They always doing some awesome stuff.
I know.
Always.
Probably one of the headline ones is Trove Pro is in alpha, and that went live very recently, and they have just surpassed 1 million XRD in monthly volume. So it's been a real resurgence for NFT trading and opens up a lot of advanced functionality for trading, which previously wasn't available on Radix. So for those who don't trade NFTs much, obviously one of the biggest NFT platforms outside of OpenSea is Blur, which is kind of like a much more sophisticated professional NFT trading platform. So Trove Pro brings a lot of features and a lot of novel features on top of what Blur offers. That means that you can do things like sweep the floor, you can list multiple assets, you can easily mint new collections, and they're doing a bunch of stuff with they're calling them NFXs, so NFT experiments, which also utilize a bunch of really cool stuff that is quite unique to Radix in what you can do with like upgrading NFT or evolving NFTs and a bunch of other things around that as well. So congratulations to the Trove team and also everyone who's been utilizing it.
Yeah, Trove Pro is really cool. And it's I remember there was just endless Trove chatter for a couple of days when it landed. So well done, Rippy. You're really cooking over there, dude. It's great.
We've also got Shard Space cooking. So Shard Space have just released a pretty major upgrade, actually, that I know they've been working on for a few months. So Shard Space now integrates cross-chain swaps. So that's a collaboration with Maya and also RocketX. So it's another place where you can do cross-chain swaps into and out of Radix through their interface. And that basically means that you can do like multi-chain trading very effectively there. They've also done some great integrations with some of the ecosystem dApps already. So I think they've got Aussie Swap, Weft, and Root ready. And I know they've got plans to add more into that as well. And I have a soft spot for Shard Space because they do some really cool things utilizing the transaction manifest. And I think, at least from my side, that's something that is quite slept on, is just how much is unlocked by the transaction manifest that on other chains, and especially on EVM, would require multiple custom smart contracts to be deployed for any of the things that they're doing. And they're doing it all just natively through the transaction manifest.
Yeah, the manifest will in due course get its moment of fame, right? It is super powerful. In Shard Space, bringing cross chain swaps, it's just more ways to get in and hopefully not out of the Radix ecosystem once the incentivization campaign's kicking off. It's all roads lead to Radix, right? That's what we want.
And staying on the topic of Shard Space, Avant has also launched Notex. So Notex is how some very eagle-eyed people saw some of this $475,000 of liquidity being added into the. So Notex is
I noticed that.
Yeah.
It was cool to see that, actually.
And so Notex is basically doing real-time alerts for on-chain activity. So you can get instant notifications for deposits and withdrawals, validator activity and staking, LP changes, and also a whole bunch of custom triggers. So it's almost like push notifications for things happening on chain, which obviously if you're right on the pulse and wanting to see action on chain, especially things around kind of like LP changes and stuff like that, it is a really, really cool something that I know many in the Radix community have wanted for a long time.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it was nice to see Avant posting. Oh, some more liquidity's got in. Oh, some more. Yes. Keep going.
My hope is that we give Notex some stress on their scalability when those updates are coming so frequently and so fast, especially with the incentives campaign.
It's only fair that we should break Avant's code because he's always breaking mine in the hyperscale test. So, well, it's not him personally, but he helps. So,
XRD Bio has also gone live, and this is one that I've been really excited about. So this is from the RNS team and is your own kind of like personal Radix profile, fully decentralized. They've just launched this in alpha, so you can have your own theme, which is based on your RNS domain. It allows you to accept easily XRD payments just by clicking like send tokens to like dan.xrd or something. You go on there and there's a button, send tokens. It automatically creates the transaction. It allows you to stake directly from your page if you're a validator. It looks incredibly good. Like that's the thing that I love on so many Radix apps is that like the UX and view of it always surprises people. And I think we're a bit spoiled on Radix that whenever external people go, hey, come and look at this DApp, they're one, taken away immediately by how good they look and how intuitive they are to use. But then secondly, going, wow, there's dApps for all of the cool things that we need. There's cool things like XRD Bio coming out, things like Notix. There's all of the core kind of like money markets and multiples of them. There's multiple DEXs, their own USPs. And obviously like yield aggregators coming live now as well, NFT marketplaces, complex marketplaces for NFTs. And this is all just really priming the ground for getting more activity and more liquidity, because there are so many places to deploy it, so many strategies to maximize their yield. And things like XRD Bio, again, is just utilizing some more Radix tech, and it could be more timely as well with the massive data breach that the tech giants had this week, and the massive use case for decentralized identities, decentralized logins, which obviously with personas on Radix is built in natively.
Yeah, I need to play around with XRD Bio a little bit, and I had a quick look at it, and it's like I want to spend a bit of time in here because this looks really cool. But going back to how good all of our dApps look, they do all look very good, right? And obviously part of the reason of that is because the developers aren't spending 90% of their day trying to figure out how the F not to screw up in Solidity. So they have a lot more time to spend on nice front ends, and we have a nice culture of kind of UX as well, right? I think the bar is set quite high across our ecosystem because we do have very good looking dApps, but that's not a problem because developers have more time to spend on the front ends because they're not trying to solve silly issues in a smart contract language which just wants to rip off your head every 5 minutes. So all good. I mean, yeah, amazing. And bio, I need to do my bio. I really need to do my bio.
You do need to do your bio. It is
I do.
is cool, and it's just subtle things like some of the animations on XRD Bio just spark joy. So much joy. Surge has also been doing a whole bunch of stuff. So Surge now are continuing increasing the amount of perps activity on Radix. So they've just added Hyperliquid as a tradable asset on Surge. So obviously there's a bunch of hype around Hyperliquid. So
well done, Hyperliquid, for getting listed on Radix.
I know.
Well done.
Give it a few years. That will be the thing that every token aspires for.
A few years, Adam.
Okay, a few months.
Next year. Yeah.
They've also increased leverage everywhere. So they've increased leverage up to 50x on all tokens. Can never mention leverage without disclaimer. Be very careful with leverage.
No, I was just gonna do it, but you can do it this time.
Be very careful with leverage. It is hugely powerful, both in good ways, and if it goes against you, it wrecks you super fast as well. So never underestimate the power of leverage, both in your favor and against it.
It has no mercy.
Has no mercy, and there are many a tale of people underestimating it or doing silly things, like doing a 50x leverage position, and then there's like a 0.1% drop, and they get liquidated.
Yeah, because they don't take into account the spreads.
Yep. We've also got DeFi Llama now tracking Flux. So Flux, for anyone who doesn't know, is by Octo, and Flux is a collateralized stablecoin that is basically you can deposit in XRD, you get FUSD out, and utilizing that, you can also put that into Vaults that earns interest by putting that in there, that helps maintain the peg as well. It is all algorithmic, completely decentralized, completely DAO controlled. And again, it's just another one of these features of people being able to build really awesome, complex things on Radix quickly, intuitively, and I recommend everyone to go and give that a check out.
Yeah, I didn't know about this actually. This is news to me, but I think I'm allowed to miss one thing over the past couple of weeks, so I will go and check out Flux.
And before we get to one of the most exciting things, we've also got Astralescent. Of course, it wouldn't be a Radix recap without an update from Astralescent.
Of course it wouldn't.
I think they time it intentionally. They just bring one thing out, or a couple of things out every 2 weeks.
Just resident news article in our spaces at this point.
Not that we're complaining, by the way, Timon. You're doing a fantastic job.
We would never complain.
So Astralescent, in fairness to them, the big thing that they've done for this space is not actually them. Well, kind of is. They set up a hackathon, an AI hackathon looking specifically at multi-party compute, and they've announced their winners now. So the first place went to Claudio. So Claudio built basically a crypto assistant for Radix that's powered by 3 MCP servers, and it's got custom built ones. Super cool. And
Wow.
yeah, that was built by 2 devs. So really impressive, utilizing N8N, Claude, and Alama for a bunch of the stuff they're doing. And yeah, just fantastic little dab.
Amazing.
They've also got second place went to Astro Portfolio Optimizer. So that uses live APY data to generate RTM transactions, optimize DeFi yield strategies. And that's a Claude powered yield optimizer. And then third place went to the Root Finance MC server. So again, that's a tool for, again, yield strategies, looking at liquidation risk insights, and position composition tracking. So all 3 of those fantastic entries. But a massive shout out to Astrolescent for running a hackathon, doing AI stuff. AI, there is so much opportunity in crypto, and especially on Radix, to do some very exciting stuff around that.
That is very cool. Have we promoted like these entries at all?
They're on the calendar, Dan.
Okay, good.
We have
good.
too much
these
stuff.
Are really cool.
We have too much
Yeah,
stuff.
we do have too much stuff. We never thought we'd have that problem, right?
No, we've got a lot of stuff. So intern has to rest their fingers as they're typing frantically, to make sure sure that everything gets its due moment in the spotlight. So it's good.
We're working the intern hard at the moment. Apologies.
Yeah. Same with all the grants. Same with all the things being built. Please, every DApp builder, every project on Radix, remember to shout out to us. Get in contact. We've got the ecosystem success form. Every project should have a Telegram group with the foundation. If you don't have one and you're building on Radix, please let me know. We'll set one up. So there's many ways you can get in contact with us. And if you've got anything that you've released, you're planning to release, content you've put out, anything like that, do hit us up, and we will whip it over to intern to make sure that it gets promoted and amplified across all the main channels. Well, and speaking of all of the channels, the final ecosystem update I've got for today, Dan, is the coffee beans space.
I love that name. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
did Beam think of that, or did he get like some PR agency involved? Because that's surely too good for Beam to come up with on his own, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to speculate, but it is a fantastic name. So Beam, obviously one of the superstar devs on Radix, started a new X space called Crypto Coffee Beams, and that had, I've forgotten the third person now. It was Beam, Octo, and someone else. Remind me of it shortly. But they had their first space. It was super interesting. They dove Rippy. That was the third one. They got super deep into looking at intents and sub-intents on Radix. So this is something that was actually released back in Cuttlefish as a protocol update back in December, and is something which I'm really glad to see devs starting to play around with and seeing just how much utility there is there. And yeah, Beam, Rippy, and Octo were talking in depth about some of the things they're playing around with, testing with sub-intents, and what that opens up. So if you haven't listened to the space, highly recommend it. Really interesting. Even though they're 3 like gigabrain devs, they still explain in a way that even smooth brain apes like I can understand. So really worth a listen, and I'm really glad to see that the stuff put in with Cuttlefish is now getting some attention, because there is just so much that can be unlocked using them.
Yeah, all the sub-intent stuff is mega powerful. But you know, when you've got features like that, there is a bit of a learning curve and some latency for people to really understand the potential of it and stuff. Fortunately, when Beam did that space, I was swamped, so it is on my listen list probably this evening. Actually, if I keep feeling like I am, I'm going to put that on this evening, and I will quite happily give it a push on my account afterwards and give some feedback if you'd like it, Beam.
I can't remember the cadence.
I think the
he's
name's
doing
great. Like stick with that name, dude, and you know, try and do. Yeah, just it's brilliant. It's so good.
Plus, you've also got instant. I was going to say instant coffee. You've got instant monetization opportunities there with Beam branded coffee.
Oh yeah, there you go. You can have all kinds of interesting taglines. Become a gigabrain coder like Beam with crypto coffee beams coffee. Look at that. Already got a business use case for him.
But honestly, the sub-intent stuff is fantastic, and my my only pain is I think it's flown under the radar because, as is like the Radix curse, when sub-intents were being made, it was kind of a branded name, and now loads of other people in the crypto space are now talking about intent-based interactions that are very, very different to Radix sub-intents. And so,
Yes.
naming anything in tech is always a pain because if you come up with something novel, someone else uses it as well, and if it's something that's used, someone's using it in a slightly different way, adds to confusion. So spread the word of subintents because yeah,
Yes,
there's
indeed.
so many cool things you can do. Well done. That ends the list of things that we were gonna talk about. Anything
Quite a hefty list, and thank you for carrying me mostly through this space, Adam. It's much appreciated.
I'm having a quick look through people who've dropped replies to see if there's any questions or anything. Of course, brief moment now. If you would like to come up and ask a question or anything, just hit that request to talk button, the microphone button on here. Yeah, Joel the Best has showed his strategies that you can now do now. There's more USDC in, so definitely take a look at those. They're really cool. People telling us to shout out Beam's coffee space, which is done. So that is all
Yeah.
good.
Doesn't Beam have a tool as well for analyzing strategy and stuff?
So Atos
What's
Earn.
that? Atos Earn. That's it.
Yeah, it's a yield strategy DApp. So what I call like the third wave of DApps, where it's actually optimizing DeFi strategies on other DApps to increase your yields. And so that and Lattice 3 are both pioneering some of that on Radix. And obviously, with more capital, more and more strategies become viable. That
Yeah, so maybe
is
check
really
those
cool.
out as well after the liquidity injection today. Might be useful for you guys.
So we don't have anyone requesting to speak, as is the way. It's you, Dan. When it's just me, people come up and they want to ask me questions slash shout at me.
Why?
When you're here, they just want to listen to you.
Well, I'm honored, I guess. I don't know.
I reckon community liaison and intern. Your challenge for in 2 weeks' time is get some people to come and request to ask a question.
Yes, that would be good. Because as much as I like talking to you, Adam, on these spaces, some variety every now and then would be very nice.
And just some different voices. But that unfortunately means that we can't have Felix on because everyone thinks Felix and I have exactly the same voice and maybe the same person.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's just because we both have British accents.
Yeah, but the difference is Felix says man way more than you do.
Yeah, my vocabulary is a bit too robotic. That's the problem. I secretly got a Neuralink fitted in the early alpha.
Well, I mean, you were a robot at one point, remember?
Yeah, I remember those
At that
times.
conference with Robot Adam, that was hilarious.
Where is Robot Adam?
If no one's seen that video of Robot Adam roaming around a conference, Adam, like, find it and post it somewhere so that everybody can see. It's brilliant.
That was at the Lisbon hackathon when we just first released Scripto, and I couldn't attend. I want to say it was like just off the back of COVID or something. Anyway, there was some reason I couldn't go, and so we got Robo Adam.
Yeah, Robo Adam, a little screen on this stick with some auto balancing wheels roaming around.
I really want to know where Robo Adam is. Maybe I should just connect to it, see where I am.
Yeah.
Just connect to be like, hello, freak someone out, get stabbed. or just I've got the level 1 Dalek problem, and I'm just stuck in at the bottom of a flight of stairs somewhere in some basement.
yeah, you're just there forever. Oh dear. Yeah, Robot Adam, bring back Robo Adam. Okay.
Cool.
Anything else? We doing anything else, or we're good?
I think we're good.
Happy. Everybody in the community happy with what's going on. Give us a thumbs up if you're happy. If you're not happy, I don't want to hear about it today. I want positive vibes only. No thumbs at all.
I gave a thumbs up because I'm happy today.
Yeah, you. Well,
this is
you're obliged. You're obliged to give a thumbs up.
Well, this is the Oh no, here they all come. It's because of
Oh, all
X.
the thumbs are coming now. I had some hearts as well. Okay, cool. You're making me work for it there. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's the X space delay. Speakers are on a
I think it
slightly
must be.
different. Like it's about a 10-20 second delay between what speakers hear and what audiences hear.
Isn't that long?
It really
20
is.
seconds?
Yeah, because the other thing that catches you out is you have to not close the space either. Because if when we finish talking, we're like, that's it, that's a wrap, and I hit end space, it cuts off the last like 15-20 seconds on the recording.
I did not know that. Come on, Elon. Get your latency sorted.
So,
All right, okay.
that's it for
I guess
today.
we'll have an awkward silence for 20 seconds at the end then.
There was an old late night show. I can't remember the guy's name, but he always used to do a thing at the end of the show of people get to pick of like awkward silence, fake argument, play the harmonica, that sort of stuff. Maybe that's what we need to
It's
bring in.
Craig somebody.
Yes,
the
Craig.
Late Show, right?
Yep.
Ferguson.
Yes, that's the one. If anyone
Brilliant
hasn't,
host.
if anyone hasn't watched clips from Craig Ferguson's late night show, highly recommend. He is hilarious. He is someone who has too much charisma, and could
Oh, yes.
easily share some out to the rest of us and still have buckets to.
Yes, he could. Yeah, very funny.
Well,
All
on
right,
that note,
so shall we cue the silence?
yeah, let's cue the silence. Thank you much, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, this is also going to be going out on YouTube and probably Spotify as well shortly, as well as X. So make sure you like it, share it, retweet, subscribe, all of those sort of good things. And